Something just shifted in the Atlantic. And if you live anywhere near the water, Florida, the Caribbean, the Gulf Coast, I need you to really sit with that for a second. For the last 2 months, the tropics have been quiet, eerily quiet. But right now, on August 20th, bigger and stronger tropical waves are rolling off the coast of Africa. The models are waking up. The next storm name on the list, Dolly. And the question everyone in those areas should be asking, is the long quiet about to end? Let me give you the honest picture first. This has been one of the quietest hurricane seasons in recent memory. Just 2 named storms, Arthur and Bertha. Neither even got close to hurricane strength. By this point in a normal season, we should be looking at roughly 14 named storms, about 7 hurricanes, including 3 major ones. We're nowhere near that. The season's accumulated cyclone energy, the metric meteorologists use to measure how much raw power the atmosphere has produced, is running about 75% below the historical average. That's not just quiet. That's historically slow, and there are 2 big reasons why. First, El Niño, a climate pattern that's been strengthening upper-level winds over the Atlantic, creating wind shear that tears storms apart before they can even get organized. Second, Saharan dust, massive plumes of dry, dusty air blowing off Africa, sucking the moisture out of the atmosphere, so tropical waves die before they even get going. But here's the thing to hold on to. Every strong El Niño since 1950 has been linked to a below-normal Atlantic hurricane season. Every single one. The data is clear. But here's what should make you sit up straight. Below normal doesn't mean 0. Below normal doesn't mean safe. It only takes 1 storm making landfall to turn your season into the worst of your life. And right now, we're standing at the doorstep of the most dangerous stretch of the entire hurricane calendar, the statistical bullseye, the peak. And for the first time all summer, the models are hinting that something might be trying to organize. So here's my question to you. After 2 months of so-called quiet, are you still paying attention? Or have you already relaxed, convinced this season won't touch you? Because what happens in the next 7 to 10 days might force you to answer that honestly. Let me walk you through the full picture of this season so far, so you understand why what's happening right now actually matters. Look, I know this sounds crazy, but this season has been historically quiet. Like seriously quiet. We're sitting here on August 20th, and the entire 2026 Atlantic hurricane season has given us just 2 named storms, Arthur and Bertha. Both showed up early in the summer. Neither one even got close to hurricane strength. And that's it. That's the whole list. To put that in perspective, the long-term average is about 14 named storms in a full season. Around 7 of those become hurricanes, and about 3 become major ones, category 3 or higher. We are nowhere near that pace. I mean, not even the same zip code. And here's the number that should make you sit up straight. The accumulated cyclone energy, what meteorologists use to measure how intense and long-lasting storm activity is running about 75% below the historical average. Let me say that again. 75% below. That's not just quiet. That's historically almost eerily slow. It's the kind of season that makes you wonder if the Atlantic has just stopped working. But it's not broken. It's being strangled. And the hand doing the strangling is something called El Niño. Now, I really want you to understand what El Niño is. Because it's this invisible force that's been shaping everything we've seen and everything we haven't seen all summer. El Niño is a natural climate pattern where water temperatures in the Central and Eastern Pacific Ocean run warmer than normal. And when that happens, it doesn't just stay in the Pacific. It reaches across the planet and reshapes the atmosphere. Above the Atlantic, specifically, it strengthens the upper-level winds that blow over the Atlantic. And those stronger winds create what meteorologists call wind shear. Wind shear is basically the change in wind speed and direction as you go up in altitude. And if you want to know the single biggest enemy of a developing hurricane, it's wind shear. Because when you have strong wind shear, it literally tears developing storm systems apart before they can organize and strengthen. It's like trying to build a sandcastle while someone keeps kicking the sand. Right now, El Niño isn't just hanging around. It's intensifying. NOAA has put the odds of a strong or very strong El Niño during August, September, and October at 90%. That's a 90% chance that the single biggest season-suppressing force on the planet is going to be at its absolute strongest exactly when the Atlantic would normally be ramping up to its most active period. That's why Colorado State University, one of the most respected hurricane forecasting centers in the world, has called for a well below normal season and has lowered its forecast twice already. That's why NOAA is now giving a 75% chance of a below normal season, up from 55% earlier in the summer. Every single strong El Niño event since 1950 has been associated with a below normal Atlantic hurricane season. Every single one. The data doesn't get much clearer than that. But here's where I need you to pump the brakes, because this is the part that matters most. Below normal does not mean zero. Below normal does not mean safe. Below normal does not mean you can go back to scrolling past weather alerts on your phone. It only takes one storm making landfall to make your season the worst season of your life. Just one. And right now, we're standing right at the doorstep of the statistical bullseye, the single most dangerous stretch of the entire hurricane calendar. And for the first time all summer, something is shifting. The bigger tropical waves are starting to roll off the coast of Africa. The sleeper is starting to stir. And that raises a question I'm going to come back to. What happens when the one force that's been holding everything back suddenly isn't enough? You've seen those waves rolling off Africa all summer, right? They look great on satellite for a day or two. Then just vanish. Poof, gone. And you're sitting there thinking, what the heck just happened? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. There's another killer in this story, and it ain't the wind, it's dust. Saharan dust. All summer long, massive plumes of dry, dusty air have been blowing off the African coast, riding those trade winds west over the Atlantic like a giant curtain of death for thunderstorms. Meteorologists call it the Saharan air layer, and it does two brutal things to anything trying to spin up. First, it's dry. Bone dry. Like NOAA data shows, the air inside these dust plumes has about 50% less moisture than normal tropical air. 50%. So picture this. A tropical wave rolls off Africa full of thunderstorm potential, then slams into this wall of dry air and just chokes. It's like trying to start a campfire with soaking wet wood. That's literally what it's like for a storm to try to organize inside one of these plumes. The thunderstorms starve before they can ever cluster into anything structured. Second, the dust actually reflects sunlight. Sounds harmless, right? But it slightly cools the ocean surface underneath. And here's the thing about tropical systems. They need that warm water. They need heat and evaporation to survive. So now you've got dry air choking the atmosphere above and cooler water cutting off the fuel supply below. Two gut punches, back to back. And it's been relentless June all the way through mid-August. But here's what you need to understand. This isn't random. It's not bad luck. It's a pattern, and patterns break. The Saharan dust doesn't stay dominant forever. The folks who track these plumes for a living know that once you get deep into late August and into September, the dust starts to lose its grip. Why? Because the big-scale wind patterns over Africa start shifting. The monsoon trough migrates. That easterly jet changes position, and the source region for those massive dust storms starts to quiet down. That's just climatology. And climatology also tells you something else. The Atlantic hurricane season peaks right around September 10th. Statistically, that's the single most dangerous date on the calendar. And we are standing right at the doorstep of that window right now. The dust is already starting to fade. It's not gone, not completely, but it's weakening. And let me tell you something about the tropics. It doesn't take much to tip the balance. You don't need perfect conditions to get a storm going. You just need one pocket, one spot where the shear is low, the moisture is high, and the dust is thin. And suddenly, a wave that looked like nothing starts getting its act together fast. So think about what we've been watching every single week this summer. A wave rolls off Africa, looks half decent on satellite for a day or two. The models light up with a little hint of something, and then it plows straight into that Saharan wall and dies. Over and over and over again. That's not a mystery anymore. That's the signature move of this season. But the dust is the variable that changes everything over the next 10 days. Because if it keeps breaking down, and these bigger, stronger waves rolling off Africa right now, and I'm talking waves that are physically larger and more organized than anything we've seen all season. If they get even a small window through that dry air, the Atlantic can wake up. And it can wake up faster than you think. And honestly, this is the part that keeps me up at night. People look at a quiet season and they think quiet means safe. They hear El Niño, they hear that below normal forecast, and they just mentally check out. But the tropics don't care about your expectations. They don't care about your forecast. They only care about what's happening right here, right now. And the conditions right now are changing. The dust is thinning, the water is still warm, record warm in spots across the Atlantic, and those stronger waves are coming. It only takes one wave to find that pocket. Just one. And suddenly you're not talking about a quiet season anymore. You're talking about a named storm that got a head start while everyone was looking the other way. So let me show you exactly what's moving across the ocean right now. There's a wave already sitting in the Eastern Caribbean and trailing right behind it. There's something much bigger. Look, I'm sitting here on August 20th, and I got to tell you, something about the Atlantic just feels different today. There are actually a bunch of tropical waves rolling through right now. One of them is already moving across the Eastern Caribbean, kicking up scattered showers around Grenada, St. Vincent, Barbados, St. Lucia, Trinidad, Dominica, and Martinique. But that 1 week, disorganized, honestly, is not going to do anything. Just a blob of moisture drifting through the islands. But that's not where your eyes should be. The real deal is what's coming up behind it. There are stronger waves now leaving the coast of Africa and heading into what we call the main development region. That strip of tropical Atlantic between Africa and the Caribbean, roughly 10 to 20 degrees north. That's the breeding ground for Cape Verde-type hurricanes, the big ones that travel long distances and can end up threatening the Caribbean, Florida, even the Gulf Coast. And the waves coming off Africa right now, they're stronger, more vigorous, better organized than anything we've seen moving there all season. And I mean all season. Think about that for a second. After months of dust, wind shear, and dry air strangling every attempt at storm formation, this conveyor belt is finally starting to deliver something different. These waves are physically bigger. They're carrying more moisture, they have more spin, and for the first time all summer, some of the forecast models are actually starting to develop one of these into a tropical system. Now, let me be straight about what the models are saying, because this is where it gets genuinely interesting. The European model, widely considered one of the best, if not the best, global weather models out there, has been hinting at development, showing that significant wave turning into a tropical storm over the next few days, and then eventually moving west-northwest. The FE3 model, another one, meteorologists watch closely, is also hinting at development with the same wave, potentially reaching tropical depression or tropical storm strength about 9 or 10 days from now. And again, it's moving west-northwest, but here's the catch. The American GFS model, the Canadian model, and the German ICON model, they're not buying it. They keep the waves as strong tropical waves, but don't organize them into anything more. So right now, there's a real disagreement among the models, a split, and I want you to understand why that split is important. It's not just technical noise. When every model agrees nothing's going to develop, that tells you the environment is completely hostile. Like, it's basically impossible for a storm to form. But when you see the European model, known for its skill in the tropics, start to develop something, and the FE3 joins in, while others stay skeptical, that tells you the conditions aren't clearly hostile anymore. It tells you the door is starting to crack open. It tells you there's enough fuel, enough moisture, enough instability out there for at least some of the models to say, hey, this could actually organize. That disagreement isn't a sign everything's fine. It's a sign the balance is shifting. It's a sign that the background conditions are no longer a perfect storm killer. It's the first time all season where the models are fighting over something real, and that's exactly the kind of shift you need to pay attention to. Let me ask you something. When you hear that some models develop a storm and others don't, what goes through your head? Relief? Confusion? Or are you one of those people who just waits until there's a name and a cone on the map before you even tune in? Because that's exactly the reaction that could leave you caught off guard. The next name on the list is Dolly. And the fact that we're even talking about the possibility of Dolly forming this far out, given how quiet this season's been. That's the story here. And the question is whether these waves can find enough favorable conditions to actually make it happen, or whether the dust and the shear shut it down one more time. That's what we're watching. And that's exactly what the next several days are going to tell us. So here's where this gets really interesting. And honestly,